Hello everyone. Today we are back with a new topic which is simple interest. Now before knowing what is simple interest, we need to know some terms related to simple interest. The first is principal. Now note, this principal is not your school's principal. This principal is the money borrowed or lent out for a certain period. That is, suppose I need some money. So what I will do is I will go to a bank and I will lend some money from the bank. Now the money that is being lent from the bank is actually known as the principal. Okay? Now what is interest? Interest is the extra money paid for using others' money is called interest. Now for suppose I have borrowed rupees 50,000 from the bank over a period of 5 months. Then calculation says that if I pay rupees 10,000 per month, then I would be freed from the debt. But it is actually seen that something extra to the 10,000 needs to be paid in order to come out of the debt. Okay, so the extra money that is being paid, suppose I had to pay rupees 10,000 per month, but now I have to pay suppose 11,000. Then 1,000 is that extra money that is being paid from me, and that is known as the interest. Okay, now next is what is simple interest. If the interest on a sum with sum that is being borrowed, so the interest is on the principal for a certain period is reckoned uniformly. What does reckoned uniformly means? Reckoned uniformly means that suppose as I said that I have borrowed rupees 50,000 and I need to return it back within a period of 5 months. So if I return the exact money that is need to be returned by me within that 5 months as per the laws of the bank, then that is known as reckoned uniformly. Then this is called simple interest. Okay, the principal is in short denoted as P. The rate in short is R per annum. The rate is calculated per annum, or annum is year, per annum is in short P dot A dot, and time. The time is always calculated in years. Okay, don't make a mistake here. Then the simple interest, or the formula for simple interest, is PRT by 100. So from here we can say that what is P? P is actually SI, simple interest, into 100 divided by RT. Similarly, we can find out what is R. R is SI into 100 divided by P into T. Then T is equal to SI into 100 divided by P into R. Okay. Now coming up to some solved examples. The first one says, if the simple interest on rupees 68,000 at 16 2 by 3, this is a mixed fraction, % per annum for 9 months. Now how to solve a mixed fraction? We need to multiply 16 into 3, which is a 48, and then need to add a 2. So 48 plus 2 is 50. So the rate is 50 by 3. Now what is the principal on which we need to calculate the simple interest is this. So P is actually 68,000. Now as I said, T must be in years, but T, the time, is in months. So we need to calculate this, or we need to actually take it in years. So in a year there are 12 months. So we are taking 9 months. So to calculate it into years, we will divide with a 12. So it is 9 by 12. On simplifying, we get 3 by 4 years. Okay. So similarly, taking this, the simple interest, SI is equal to PRT by 100. Putting the values of P, R and T, we have this, and on simplifying we get that the simple interest is 8,500. Okay. Next, second, find the simple interest on rupees 3,000 at 6.1/4% per annum. So this is the rate, and this is the principal for the period. Now what is the time in which you need to give the money? That is from 4th February 2009 to 18th April 2009. Okay. So now what can we see? That 2009. So 2009 is not divisible by a 4 or a 100 or a 400. So 2009 is not a leap year. So if 2009 is not a leap year, then the month of February has 28 days. Now the period is starting from 4th February. So if we calculate the total number of days in February in which you need to pay the simple interest, that is 28 minus 4. Okay. So we are left with 24 days of February. Now after February comes the month March. March is 31 days. Okay. And then March, April. So the period is from 4th February to 18th April. So for the month of April, after 18th April, we need not pay. So total number of days in April that we need to pay is actually 18. So in this duration, the total number of days is actually 24 for the month of February, 31 for the month of March, and 18 days for the month of April. So the total number of days is 24 plus 31 plus 18 days, which is equal to 73 days. Now, as I said earlier that T must be in years, so we need to calculate or convert this 73 days to years. Now, a year has 365 days, and since this is not a leap year, so we will divide by a 365. So we get a 1/5 of the year. Fine. So the P is given to us 3,000, R is given, and we have calculated the time. So by simple calculations, we see that SI or simple interest is equal to PRT by 100, which is 37.50. Okay. Now here is a remark. The remark says that we have counted the last day of the repay, that is 18th of April, but we did not count the first day of the period. Okay. Hence the remark says the day on which money is deposited is not counted while the money is deposited on 4th Feb. Now 4th Feb is not counted, but 18th April is counted. So is not counted while the day on which money is withdrawn is counted. Okay. Now number 3. Number 3 says a sum at simple interest at 13.1/2% per annum amounts to rupees 2502.50 after 4 years. Find the sum. So what is to be calculated is we need to calculate the principal. The sum here is actually the principal. So we need to calculate the principal. What is given to us is the time period and the rate at which we need to find the principal. Now it is said that a sum at simple interest at 13.5% per annum amounts to. Now what is amounts to? We know that amount is equal to simple interest plus the principal. Okay, so the amount here is given. So what is given to us is simple interest plus the P. Okay, now the P is to be found out. So what we do is we assume that P be of rupees X. Then the simple interest is actually P into R into T by 100, which is 27x by 50. Okay. So the amount here is simple interest plus P. So P here is an X and simple interest is 27x by 50. So on adding we have 77x by 50. Hence this amount is actually this amount. So on equating both, we can find the value of X, which is the principal or the sum which is required. Okay. Now number 4. Number 4 says that the simple interest on an amount of rupees 2500 at the end of 6 years is rupees 1875. What would be the simple interest on an amount of rupees 6875 at the same rate and for the same period? Now what is said that the amount or the P or the principal is this, and the simple interest on this principal is actually 1875 over the time 6 years. So first is that we need to calculate at what rate we are giving the simple interest. So first finding out the rate. Rate is equal to P into 10 by, no, rate is equal to, from here if we can say that 100 into SI by P into T. So 100 into the simple interest by P into T. So 2500 into 6. Okay. So the rate is 12.5%. Now the second part says that what would be the simple interest. So we need to calculate the simple interest on the amount. The amount is this at the same rate. Which rate? The rate at which the first part was given. So the first part's rate is 12.5 and for the same period. So what was the period? For 6 years. So the second question says that if P is 6875 and R is 12.5% and time is 6 years, then what is the simple interest? So simple interest is actually PRT by 100. Okay, this was easy calculation. Now number 5. A sum of rupees 800 amounts to rupees 920 in 3 years at simple interest. If the interest rate is increased by 3%, it would amount to how much? Now what is said? That a sum of rupees this. So the principal is this. Amounts to. The principal on adding with the simple interest gives me this because this is the amount. So as I said that amount is equal to simple interest plus the principal. So simple interest is equal to amount minus the principal. Okay, here the amount is rupees 920 and the principal is rupees 800. So the simple interest is actually 920 minus 800, which is 120. The P, as I said, is rupees 800 and the time is 3 years. So we can calculate the rate from here. So the rate is 5%. Now the next part says that if the interest rate is increased by 3%, so the rate is this. Now if it is increased, so it should be added to this rate. So the rate is now 5 plus 3%, which is 8%. So on this new rate, what would be the amount? Now on this rate, this is the R. The P is the same. So the P is rupees 800 and the time is over 3 years. So we can calculate the simple interest. The simple interest on calculation is 192. So what is the amount? amount is required. So amount is actually simple interest plus the principal. So the new amount is actually the principal plus the simple interest. The new simple interest that is calculating on increase of a rate of 3%. Okay, which is 992. Now 6 and the last one. The 6 says Adam borrowed some money at a rate of 6% per annum for the first 2 years. So the time period is 2 years. The rate is 6%. At the rate of 9% per annum for the next 3 years. So for the first 2 years have been completed. Now for the next 3 years, the rate has increased and is now 9%. And the rate of 14% per annum for the period beyond the 5 years. If he pays a total interest of rupees 11400 at the end of 9 years, how much money did he borrow? Okay, so we need to actually find the principal. How much money did he borrow? So we need to actually find the principal or the sum. Fine. So let us assume that the sum borrowed by Adam is X, or is actually rupees X. Then for the first year, what is the simple interest? The rate is R, time is 2, and principal is X. So PRT by 100 is for the first 2 years. Now the next says for the next 3 years. So time is 3, rate is 9, and principal is X. So PRT by 100 gives you a X into 9 into a 3. Now it is said that 14% PA for the period beyond 5 years. Beyond 5 years is this 2 years along with this 3 years. So total is, we have seen that for 5 years, for the first 2 years, the rate was 6%. And for the next 3 years, the rate is actually 9%. Now, he pays this for 9 years. It is seen that Adam has been paying the money for 9 years. Okay. Now for the first 2 years, the rate was 6%. For the next 3 years, the rate was 9%. And it is said that 14% was the rate for the period beyond the 5 years. Now total number of years that Adam has been paying the rate or being paying the debt was for 9 years. So 9 minus he has paid for the 5 years. So 9 minus 5 is equal to 4. So the period beyond the 5 years. So period beyond these 5 years is actually a time period of 4 years. So the next is principal into rate into the time. The time was for 4 years. Hence, which is equal to 11400. On calculation, we can see that we can find the value of X because this is equal to 11400. So on adding this is actually 95x by 100, which is equal to 11400. So X is equal to 11400 into 100 divided by 95 here. So on cancellation this, we see that X is equal to 12,000. So the sum or the principal that Adam has borrowed is actually 12,000. Okay, thank you.